Go ahead.
Yeah, so just the paradigm of this, Luke 15, the prodigal son, so much emphasis is on the prodigal son that runs away and squanders everything, and not a lot on the elder son. But I identify a lot more as an elder son of like, I care. There are so many needs pressed upon me. I have to care for my wife. I have to care for my kids. I have to care for my community. As a pastor, I had to care for people who are in crisis mode. Divorce is happening. Kids just try to commit suicide. Someone has an extreme addiction and really wants to get out of it, but just can't. Just like enslaved to this particular addiction. Or it's a young kid who just found out that their dad is going to die from cancer, and he's 7, and the dad's like early 50s. And so walking with them, like you can't just prescribe things to people who are in such great need or in crisis mode. And so with all these needs, and then my personality is like, I'm never enough. There's always more to improve. Like everything that I put out, I always see flaws before like things that are good. And so there's even upon me a pressure towards perfection. And there's never settling and celebrating the work that I was able to do, which causes burnout, which causes like, there's no joy in someone who has that predisposition, right? There's no sense of like there. I guess there's a sense of fulfillment if you see enough progress and success, but otherwise, like you're just spread too thin. So then we've come across a lot of leaders who are in similar situations where not only are there so many needs that this person needs to meet, but this person, he's almost always isolated. There's no strong community. There's no place where he can feel safe and vulnerable and authentic, because he has to lead. And he's telling himself, I'm telling myself, if I share my weakness with people, no one's going to listen to me again. Like I'm going to compromise my leadership if I let people in my life and talk about the difficulties that I'm personally going through. I'm not asking for my needs and how my needs can be met by people who I can trust. And the more isolated you become, the stronger the narrative is no one can be trusted. You can't trust people with your crap. Which is a false narrative, but it's very close to the truth that many men in their leadership will not seek community. And what I mean by community is not like going to not to play cards with the bros or go out drinking with the boys or whatever it is. It's like to really fully be known. Because at the heart of it is, no one can ever experience love and acceptance if they are not truly known. And so there's a lost art, I think, in society as a whole. But since we're talking about men, like men do not know how to be known. They don't know how to create a space to be known. They don't have the language to be known. They're afraid of the emotions that come with it because it seems more feminine than masculine to be authentic and to cry or to share about what they're afraid of or what they're insecure about. So they lose language over it. And that just causes even more isolation. So we have found that most of these men who we meet are, again, high capacity leaders. They're CEOs, they're pastors, they're entrepreneurs, they're content creators, they run multiple businesses, and they have this huge void in their life of authentic community, and oftentimes burnout, and what we call the elder brother syndrome, which is, like, I'll just use myself as an example. I cannot rest unless I earn it. I work in order to rest, not I work from rest. So I work to rest, I work from rest. And so the call that we have in our men's group, it's called Canyon Pathways, is to provide a space for men to find rest, to receive, because they've been giving so much. It's a place to be poured back into, and to rediscover many things, like rediscover the truth about God's love, rediscover their passions, rediscover what gets them excited, rediscover what is important in their lives. So it's like a recalibration of like the whole body. And one of the ways that we do that is we offer retreats to these men. And just as the narrative of in scripture where it says, freely you receive because freely it was given. So our mission and our kind of ethos is pay to get to the retreat. We'll pay for everything else. We'll pay for lodging and we'll pay for food. And it's 5 days. So we have retreats all over the world. Most of them is in the United States. Like I think next week people will be in Oklahoma. It's called Broken Bow. It's like a out in the wilderness, huge cabins that can house like 15 guys and stuff. It's a beautiful place. I've been there twice. But we have them in California. We have them in South Dakota. And then there's one in Greece. And then there's several in Africa. And so I've been asked to do one in Asia. So I've been looking at places for Japan, January, February 2026. And so the whole idea is, hey, we're inviting you to come, pay to get there. We'll get you to the lodging, and everything else is free. It's all paid for by generous donations and stuff. And and then there's no like set Bible study. There's actually no schedule, because we just want people to experience freedom. You have the freedom to rest, or you have the freedom to read a book. You have the freedom to go explore the town of wherever we're going to be in. You have the freedom to cook whatever food you want. You have the freedom to go on a walk. Like, because a lot of Christian retreats, it's like, okay, wake up 6 o'clock for prayer, and then 7:30 is Bible study, and then 10:30 is a sermon, and then it's all these like structures. Like, no, we don't want any of that. We just want people. That's not restful. We just want people to rest. So when I went on the on this retreat, I was like, you're telling me I can do anything? So I brought my bike. So I went on a bike ride. I brought my fishing pole. I was like, where's the nearest lake? I went fishing. Like, I didn't want to participate in the group discussions. I wasn't there. People didn't show up. They were sleeping. Like, it was just a really cool experience where you sit around other leaders and and people are not, well, I did this and I did that and I'm this person and I'm this person. It's just like, we put all that identity aside and we're just like, we're just sons. We're just elder sons. We've got a lot on our plate, and I don't have to perform for anybody. I don't have to be on for anybody. And there's a break in tension, and it's beautiful. So there's that aspect. And then the other aspect is called spiritual direction, which is basically like, if you've ever gone on a safari tour, or if you've gone on a hike and you hire a guide, this guide is not telling you what to do. It's just like, hey, we're going to walk together. And if you're interested in something, I'll point it out. If there's something worth stopping and observing, let's go point it out. So a spiritual director is providing sacred space between the director and the person, the attendee, to listen to God. and to listen to God and to process whatever is on this person's heart and mind. So it could be like, for me, when I was going through spiritual direction, which it was like I had my marriage was awful. I was super burned out. My youngest son was a really hard baby, and I had a hard time connecting with him and bonding with him. I was in a job position where I didn't feel very passionate about, and I was just in a very dark space, like very unhealthy thoughts happening in my head. So it's not going to counseling, it's not going to therapy. It's just a spiritual director just guiding me and helping me process and develop language of what I'm feeling, and then bringing it to the Father as an elder son or a younger son, bringing it to the Father, be like, here you go, Father, like, here you go. This is where I'm at. Let me hear from you. And oftentimes what I hear back is empathy and compassion from the Father. It's not like, oh, get your crap together, or I'm so disappointed in you, or how could you, or you're better than this, or, fix yourself up and try harder and like come back to me when you get it all sorted out. Like, none of that, because that's not the voice of the Father. That's actually contra to who he is. But sometimes we believe that because so much of our personal lives will say that to us. Our parents probably would not have said that to us. Work harder, or ni bu guai. Consequences are happening because of your disobedience or because of your weakness. But the response that God gives to his sons is always love and compassion. And we have to be reminded of that often. It's a lot harder when we hear other voices that outcompete the voice of love from God. So that's kind of where we're heading. And then personally for me, my meeting with the founder last week was, he was like, hey, I want to hire you, but we need to figure out how this is all going to work out. So that's I'm kind of in this holding pattern of like, do I find a job where I could get money, like be a tutor at a cram school just for the sake of getting money to provide for my family, and I'm not excited about it? Or do I hold out and just continue to wait for something that I'm very passionate and feel like I'm gifted in? So that's kind of the balance. So right now, from what I'm receiving from God is wait. So I'm in this waiting.
How can you bring that mission to Taiwan?
It's really interesting. I've been thinking about the whole culture of being guai, because I get the point of it, but as a Christian, I see how insidious it is, because being guai only benefits one person, which is the parent. It doesn't benefit the kid. It doesn't benefit society, because what happens is my observation, and I want you to tune in, just talk about even your own personal experience, and also just, the Taiwanese people you meet, is that when the requirement is to be guai, then you have no voice. There's no personal agency to explain your why. It is shut up and obey. Just be guai. Conform to my expectations that I have for you, or conform to the expectations that society has on you. And so when conformity is pushed so hard, I think that is one of the reasons why Asian people in general don't have good language around emotions, both men and women, especially if they don't have an American background. And so you get a sense of hopelessness from the younger generation where they're consumed by social media here. So they're getting global feedback from, Western civilization or whatever it is, of like people living their best lives and whatever it is. But this guy, he's, this young person in their 20s who is the only son, has to be guai and has to go to college, not only a college, but preferably an American college. And not only just an American college, but one of the Ivy Leagues. And just the pressure of that alone is crazy. Of like, yeah, not only do you have to go to an American school, but you have to go to an Ivy League. And then from there, it's like, or the other avenue is like, you're going to have to take over the family business. There's no other option for you unless you want to bring shame and dishonor to our family. And so you get a sense of hopelessness because these Taiwanese people have to be guai. They're adopting the elder brother syndrome of, I just need to be responsible. And so when they work really hard, or they study really hard, they work really hard to do something that was expected for them from their parents and not given the agency or the freedom to even consider other paths, it brings a lot of hopelessness. It's kind of nihilistic, right? It's like, it's this or nothing. So there's a lot of pressure that my Taiwanese cousins feel growing up and living here. My Taiwanese cousins' kids even. And so what I hope to bring is, like, I don't want to be that American that is going to prescribe something to a Taiwanese culture. Like, Taiwanese culture be like, do this instead because America's got it right. There's actually, I don't know if he's American, but he's a white dude who lives in Taiwan, and his whole channel is, let me tell you as a non-Taiwanese person how to make your country better. And it's so annoying, it's so pretentious, and it's so prideful, and it lacks empathy that, like, it just drives me crazy. But anyway, he's got a lot of followers and he's got thousands of views. He's making tons of money. But I don't want to be that person. I think for me, it's more of like, okay, do you have anybody to process this with? Like, that's the question I want to ask to this generation, to our generation, to the younger generation, even the older generations. Like, do you even have the space to process your life in the path that you were given when there are so many when if you had lived in the States or somewhere else where there could have been multiple paths for you to take? Like, did you even get a chance to grieve over this? I guess to kind of bring some sort of hope to a seemingly hopeless situation. So that's kind of what I hope to bring. And I think one of the biggest barriers is that my Mandarin sucks. And I feel like I could probably reach more people if I was fluent. What about you though? What's your, I mean, I've heard that you have some similar passions for developing men and it seems like you even have your own kind of system or process of guiding people.
Yeah. So you shared a lot. I'm going to try to mention a couple points. It's lagging right now, though. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So in terms of the pressure that we experience in relation to our parents, the older generation, I believe that they're like, if God is love, everything that we do is kind of a distortion of that. So when parents try to shame or guilt or put this pressure, there's a distorted sense of love that they're doing it from. So it helps to assume that they're having the best of intentions deep down, right?
Sure.
That's the first thing. I would say that, and I'm going to reference the prodigal son a couple times, the story. Like when you allow your child to have agency and pursue the path that they feel is best for them, if you genuinely exhibit unconditional love for them, I do believe that they will come full circle. Like they might mess up for a little bit, but they will come back home. They will take on the responsibility as a child to run the family business, to do whatever. But it takes faith because there's that period of unknown. Like you have to love your child enough to release them from that pressure and burden. But in doing so, you're having faith that they will ultimately return. And in a sense, that's like the prodigal son, where the father is like, lets the son go do his thing, but he comes back home. And so there's responsibility on both sides. And the experience that I had, and kind of playing off what I was hearing from you, is when you feel like you have a familial pressure or societal pressure and it's not your choice, you feel like you're just told to be guai. It feels like you lose that hope because you feel like it's not your free will. But in my experience, when I choose to come back to Taiwan, when I choose to listen to my parents, when I choose to do whatever, although I'm still constraining myself, it feels like I'm choosing it. So I feel like free in doing that, as opposed to being forced to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But the end result might be similar from the outside looking in. But my experience of it is very different.
Yeah.
The other, and it reminded me, like, when we take these rules, let's say from Christianity or from culture, and we make it sound preachy, like you must not do this or you must do that, or like you must not have sex before marriage, like as a preachy rule, people want to rebel against that. They want to reject that. Because and if you don't do that, you're going to hell, you're a bad person. But like in my own experience, like kind of we talked about it, it's like, well, I was kind of allowed to stray off that path and it didn't work out for me. So now I'm choosing, now I see the wisdom of a so-called rule, or let's say general life strategy, and I'm choosing to abide by it with my own free will, because I feel it's in my best interest. It's not just like I'm being told to do that, and if I don't do it, I'm a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less from a place of judgment, but a place from love that these rules come from.
Yeah. And even to use the word rules is tricky, because rules are either followed or broken.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I like to use instead of rules is just principles. These are biblical principles, or these are principles that's stem from wisdom,
Right.
and you're free to choose them, adopt them, or you're free not to.
Yeah.
But just to know that there is going to be some sort of consequence if you say yes to these, if you adopt them or not.
Right.
And there is freedom in that. It doesn't feel as condemning.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Going back to the prodigal son, I think, yeah, there is, we all have both parts to our psyche. So we need the space. We need the part of us that's responsible, that's dutiful, that's all that stuff. That's guai. But we also need the part that is free to rest, that's free to explore, that's free to make mistakes even, right? And we all have both parts. And so I guess from what I understand, that's kind of what you are hoping to create in your space. And how I see it potentially happening in Taiwan is like bringing, I don't know if there is an organization or whatever where they bring in pastors together, because pastors are shepherds of the flock or their congregation. But do they have a space to rest? They have, is there like a church that pastors go to, you know, or like a space, you know? So it kind of aligns with the project that I'm hearing you describe. I forgot the name of it.
Canyon pathways.
Canyon
Pathways. Yeah.
So maybe like some kind of Taipei chapter where, you know, entrepreneurs and all those people who are leaders, and like they should be, their space to rest might be like going to a church, let's say, because that's where they can just receive. And then the pastors need their own space to receive.
Yeah. No, there's definitely wisdom in that. I don't know where pastors go. My guess is that they don't.
Right.
For many reasons. But yeah, I do see that there's, I think there is a need for pastors to find a way to take off their pastor hat and to find and to receive. I think the beauty of Canyon Pathways is that we have a mix of everybody, from lawyers to real estate agents to content creators to airline pilots to pastors to missionaries, all that stuff. And there's something really cool about like diversity in our craft. And there's less of a one-uppiness that could happen that I find beautiful. But yeah, but I do agree. Like, there's got to be a place for pastors to take off their hat, because it's very hard to do that, even from my personal experience.
I mean, because that sounds like something that I would love to create with you, like a space to allow these leaders to just receive, to create retreats, to create events.
Yeah, that would be cool. It would be interesting to figure out like how we would do that, because I feel like through the people who you've interviewed, you've already built some connection with them. Like, I don't have a lot of connections with people still. So it might be cool to, like, as I was sharing with you last time with Charles, like, if you're able to like call a cohort of people together to share Well, that's kind of going away from your um, desire though, because where I was leaning towards was like a cohort of people just sharing information with one another and practicing curiosity and asking people questions and encouraging one another. But what we were talking about was a place to rest and receive for those who are in burnout, especially like leaders and religious leaders and stuff. The thing about what's really interesting, I don't know how. Here are the two obstacles I can think of my very limited knowledge and assumptions of religious leaders in Taiwan. Number one, high suspicion. A lot of pastors have high suspicion of going to a retreat that is not part of their denomination, or being asked or invited to do a retreat. Because there's like, what are you trying to say about me? That I'm burned out, you know? That I need rest. It's like, yeah, we're kind of saying like it's always good to need rest. Jesus modeled that better than anybody. But there is a pride to it. There is a call to humility to go to a retreat. And I think that requires relational currency to call someone to. The second one is, my assumption is that pastors or ministry leaders in Taiwan are workaholics. Because, especially Taiwanese pastors, and because they're Taiwanese. And almost all Taiwanese people are workaholics, even if they know it or they don't. So it's kind of like saying to an alcoholic, like, hey, why don't you come and not drink for a week with me? It's like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. So like for me, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to slowly build relationships with whoever comes my way. Very kind of like expectant of like, hey, my hands are open. If there's opportunities, here we go, right? Versus like the other option would be for me to like go and network with people and do that. That's not my bent. That's not my gifting. It gets me very exhausted when I do that. Even though I'm pretty good at connecting with people and connecting people to other people, networking is something that is just not easy it doesn't come easy for me. But it might come easy to you because you've done networking stuff before. Like you do that often, I think. So that is a strength that that I would benefit from. And basically it's just like building relational currency with selected amounts of people to eventually throw out an idea. It's like, hey, are you open to like a weekend getaway of like down at or over at Elan? Like, hey, we're just gonna get a cabin, we'll get a Polk, we'll come, and we'll just do hot pot and whatever it is, and we'll just hang out and whatever retreat ideas you have for it. If we want to do something like a Canyon Pathways thing, that could be cool. That's something that I need to like process through and talk to the founder about and like try to do something like that. Like we do something small and then to invite them to the Japan Canyon Pathways retreat in January, February. That could be really cool. What do you have in mind? What are you hearing, and what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, yeah, for sure. At first, it's relational currency, but I would start with just like let's say a dinner, or like a 2 or 3 hour event.
Yeah.
You don't have to start with the retreat, just to get people to go, just to get to know people, and then from that build up, and then like you mentioned, maybe then the weekend, a few of those, and then eventually like building up to a 5 day whatever overseas type thing.
Yeah.
So just taking it a step at a time.
Yeah.
In terms of the assumptions of pastors or type A entrepreneurs or leaders, will they be open for a space to rest and receive? I don't know. That'll come with more conversation,
Yeah.
seeing how they respond. And then in that case, then reframing it, and not like, it could be more like meeting other high quality guys. Like maybe they're just like, yeah, I'm open for that. And then they all go, and then turns out they're like receiving whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's workarounds regarding that.
You know what? That reminds me. So I was invited to a men's group. They meet every Wednesday at Louisa Coffee across from Sogo. They're going through a book called Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. They meet every Wednesday night. I haven't gone yet, but that's worth going to, just to, as you were mentioning, just like rubbing shoulders with other guys, and then just having discernment on whether to invite them into something more. That could be kind of cool. And if you're interested in it, I can ask if you can come with me. I'm sure they'll say yes, because they're. I know two of the guys that go, and they're pretty chill, pretty cool people. Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
What when I tell you about the retreat, that like a typical Canyon Pathway retreat, how does that land with you?
I think it's like exactly what I'm describing, where I'm trying to merge Christianity with, there's like the conscious community, or some would say like New Age spirituality, which a lot of it is rooted in past like wisdom anyways. So like from Taoism, from like Indian mysticism, then there's modern therapy ideas from there. It's like the idea of rest, right? Where like people will take shroom ceremonies, and then the next day is all about integration. It's like journaling, it's resting, it's being in nature, it's chilling, it's processing. So as an example, it's like or breath work, or meditation, or yoga. Like these are all practices that people are doing retreats with this kind of stuff. Ice baths, nature, like hikes. So it sounds like something like that, but in a Christian framework. But it's not the traditional Christian retreat or whatever, where it's like a bunch of things scheduled one on top of the other.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a blend of like what I'm describing. So it sounds awesome.
Is there something that's already available, like what you're talking about, of like integration of, because it sounds like it's integrating spirituality with the modern life, kind of, and finding rest and community, and to receive and to kind of rediscover things. Are there experiences like that already in Taiwan that you know of?
For me, not really.
Not really, meaning that there's some of it, but not a lot of it.
Like the conscious community, it's pretty small. Yeah, there's not a lot going on in Taiwan.
Yeah. Where have you seen it like done pretty well? Like where in the world?
Well, like Thailand has a lot, Bali, pretty big with that stuff. Latin America, like Costa Rica, Mexico,
Yeah.
like Tulum is notorious for that. Although I don't think, not notorious, but Tulum's not really like that.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
But more like tourists or like destinations, hotspots, you know. Tourists.
yeah, it's kind of like if I'm booking so like Hannah and I celebrated one of our anniversaries at Tulum, and like if I'm looking at places to stay on Airbnb, there's a segment of experiences that you can do. You can like do a yoga thing, or you could do like a cooking class, or you could do a snorkeling, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I think I remember seeing something like, I forget what it's called, but I remember it's like, yeah, you go on this guided tour, and there's like a hut or something, like a steam hut, something like that. But yeah, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, there's not something like that here in Taiwan.
Yeah.
You know.
And I would say a lot of those, like in that community, a lot of them might have either experienced some kind of religious trauma or just have like are anti-patriarchal or anti-society because of something, and so they bundle religion with that. And to be fair, like in the name of religion, a lot of things are happening and have happened.
Yeah, for sure.
So they kind of pull away from that, and so there is a missing piece, I feel, of this integration of the wisdom of monotheistic religions, but in the process of updating the way that it's conveyed. Like I mentioned, to many it sounds very preachy, it sounds very condemning, judgmental. Maybe a lot of them meet a lot of Christians, Muslims, Jewish who are very judgmental or ostracizing if you aren't in their particular faith.
Yeah.
And things like that. So, or they just grew up like in a cult or something where they were told that you have to give your love through like sex.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that because of these distortions, and so people kind of reject those religions and then they don't see like the wisdom that is there.
Yeah, they're open. It's almost like they're open to the concept of it, but they're not open to the hand who's giving it to them. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So then what I hear then is like, okay, let's continue to ideate on like what that would look like and here in Taiwan. And kind of go from there. Have you hosted a retreat yet?
I've hosted I have. I'm trying to think how many I've done. I've done a couple, but like 3 days, not 2 or 3 days, not like a full week.
In Mandarin?
In English.
In English.
Yeah. We would need another probably Mandarin speaking guy for the trio.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of like English speaking pastors and entrepreneurs and like people who use English here in Taiwan. So
yeah, for sure.
I think to start, it's not a hindrance. We want to eventually like expand to a level where the greater Taiwanese society is involved. Yeah. Either we would need to improve, or maybe we just find a third guy who can reach that audience as we work on our Mandarin as well.
Yeah.
But for now, just like English speaking, it's not a hindrance. Yeah. Especially if some of the like without being like I'm the American dude, like we are kind of that bridge, right, where we have one foot in both cultures. Not like you know, the white guy who's like telling Taiwanese how to be.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing, because we are trying to merge, like, let's say, the best of the East and the West. So you do need someone on the outside looking in sometimes, or someone on, with one foot in each door, each whatever, to help make those updates. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss more, like maybe just a 2 or 3 hour thing, what that would look like. Maybe set it for like a month out. I don't know. And then start to bring people to it, or like have things in the back of our minds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, would you be interested in going to this men's thing? Oh, this thing on Wednesday night?
Tonight?
Not tonight. I'm gonna go see that indoor pickleball court down south. But
Next Wednesday's doable.
Yeah, maybe next week. I'll reach out to the guy. He is not a pastor, but he teaches at a church. He's also a TAS teacher. And so I got connected through TAS to him. And so we were supposed to go to the church last week, but the kids and Hannah were like, we don't want to do that. So we went to Roots instead. But we hope that this weekend we will go down there to the church to just check it out, because we shared a couple of beers, and he invited me to speak at their church. I was like, okay, cool, but let me go say hi to the church first.
Yeah,
before just dropping in and just doing that.
For sure.
So he's a really cool guy, really down to earth. I resonate a lot with him, so connected really well with him. But yeah, okay, cool, man. Exciting.
Yeah.
Let's keep on talking and shoot ideas, and then we'll go from there.
Do you think the Canyon Pathology guy would be open to you doing some, not really a Taiwan chapter, but like some kind of funnel to get people to, being a part of that program?
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than like a direct hire. I don't know. We just need some funding. I think that's what we both need. So I'm trying to figure out what we can do to
yeah. You mean like what we're trying to do and using that as a funnel to Canyon Pathways? Is that what you're saying?
Because you're trying to bring people into that, I guess, through local events and
yeah, like the ethos of Canyon Pathways is just high invitation. Like we value invitation because God is inviting us to a deeper relationship with him. He's not forcing us, he's not yelling at us, he's not manipulating us, he's just inviting us. And so that's kind of what we do. It's like we just kind of live our lives, find people that we connect with, and be like, you know what? You should come to this retreat. It's here's the concept of it. Why don't you come with me? And let's do this together. So that's kind of our ethos. But in order for me to do that, I need to network with people. I need to meet people to do that.
Yeah.
So if it's through this avenue, then I don't see why not. I don't see why not. That would be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was asking if the founder would be able to like sponsor us a little bit to host events.
Oh, I see. Sponsor us.
So he was thinking about hiring you, right?
He's thinking about hiring me. He needs the money to hire me.
Yeah.
It's a startup. It only